Welcome to Observing with Webb, where a high school astronomy teacher tells you what you're looking at, why it's so cool, and what you should check out later this month at night. November, well, it's October 31st when I'm recording, can you tell? November, though, is turning out to be an awesome month for astronomy. We have lots of events of different types spread throughout the entire month, and we've got every naked eye planet visible. Mercury transits the sun. There are 3 close encounter lineups, including one on Thanksgiving, and perhaps we'll even be graced with some meteors from the annual Leonid meteor shower. So, with all of that being said, let's get started with the events this month.
And a bunch of other stuff. And a bunch of other stuff. And a bunch of other stuff.
So let's start off with the moon phases for the month. The first couple days, we will have some crescent phases, with the first quarter moon being on November 4th. That's when the right half is lit and it's visible until midnight. The full moon is on the 12th. That is visible the entire night and means there's a lot of light pollution, so you might see some constellations, but none of the deep stuff. Then we've got the last quarter moon on the 19th. That's when the left half is visible, or is lit up, and it's only visible from midnight and into the morning. And then the new moon is on the 26th. So if I'm going to go out looking at some stars after dinner, I'm going to be looking to go the second half of the month. But those moon phases aside, let's start talking about some of the events. The first couple days are actually pretty cool. We've got a nice close encounter between the moon, Jupiter, Saturn, Venus, and Mercury. Now, you don't really see this type of lineup all that often, but and don't ask me when the next one is. But here's what we've got. If we take a look toward the southwest at sunset, we've got those 4 planets visible. Well, sort of. Mercury, I don't think you're going to be able to see that, but it is there. Maybe you've got a great line of sight for that. But here's what you got. Bright Venus will be here low on the horizon. In fact, only 7 degrees above the horizon. But that's going to be the brightest object in that area. Now, I'm looking on the first here. And so Jupiter is going to be up and to the left of that, and Saturn up and to the left of that. Now, on the 1st of November, the moon will be right here, closer to Saturn than to Jupiter or any of the others. Now, if we zoom out a little bit, and let's let it get a little darker so we can see a little bit better. There we go. Venus will be lower when it's darker. But then on November 2nd, the moon passes to the other side of Saturn. So you still have a great lineup: Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, and the moon. And then on the 3rd, the moon is a bit further away, but still a nice evenly spaced selection of celestial objects right there for you. Okay, November 3rd is also the day that the daylight savings time ends. It'll get darker earlier at night, and it'll be light earlier in the mornings. So for teachers, that's actually very nice. We don't actually have to go to school in the dark and come home in the dark as well. Now, something else that's going on is on the 11th. Something really cool is the transit of Mercury. What's a transit? Well, let me show you. If it's daytime on November 11th, after 7:35 in the morning, Eastern Standard Time, look at that. The sun's really bright. Well, let's zoom in a bit and take that glare off to see what we can see. In fact, let me center the sun so we're always looking at it. And let me zoom in a bit. Oh, wait. Okay, that's just a sunspot right there. But what you should start seeing, starting around 7:35, oh, there it is. That little dot right there. What is that? That is Mercury. See, if my head is the Earth and my fist is the sun, Mercury is revolving around the sun, okay, faster than we're revolving around. And every now and then, it actually gets in between. Here, let me do it this way. You are now the Earth. Mercury is my finger. Mercury will get in between us and the sun. And so that's what we're going to see right here. In fact, let me make time go forward a little bit faster. And so from 7:30 in the morning until basically, I believe it's 1:04 p.m., you will be able to see Mercury transit across the sun. And let's see, there it goes right at about 1:04. It's gone. Okay? So it's small. You're not going to be able to see it with just eclipse glasses. At least that's what I hear. Maybe you have really good vision and really good eclipse glasses. But here's the number one thing. Don't look at the sun without a filter. Okay, don't do that, because that will damage your eyes. You will need at least eclipse glasses to catch it, but it's so small you probably won't be able to see it. So really what you need is some magnification. This is where you need somebody who knows what they're doing. If you can find a white light filter for your camera, you might be able to take a picture of this. But you got to make sure you get it from a place that knows what they're doing. Don't go for the cheap stuff, all right? Or you can, if you have a telescope, you can buy a white light filter, which will filter out almost all of the light from the sun, okay? Which will allow that to actually be seen, okay? And Bader makes them, Baader. It's a good way to block most of the light, but still have magnification. Okay? Make sure you get one that's secure. Don't let it fall off, or you will kill your eyes. Now, that being said, there are ways to make this show up on your via projection. Basically, have your telescope pointed at the sun, have it bounce through your eyepiece, and project onto a piece of paper. Find somewhere that knows what they're doing. I'm not going to tell you how to do that because I've never done that, but go ahead and see if you can find something like that. Okay? In fact, in the show notes, there should be an article about exactly how to get that done. All right? So anyway, the 11th, transit of Mercury during the school day. This will not happen again until 2032. Starts at 7:35. The midpoint is 10:19 in the morning, and it ends around 1:04. So make sure you have the right stuff and go out there and see it. I'm sure NASA will have a live view of it. To be honest, a little dot on the surface of the sun, I get it if that's not amazing to you, okay? However, there we go. This is what it should look like through a filter. However, you have to or what you can do is really put it into perspective. This is another world, about half the size of the Earth. That's another world passing in between us and this thing that is 93 million miles away. The only way we can see it here is because it is basically putting a big black dot on the sun. We can't see that light. And think about the enormity. We're only about twice as big as that planet. And that's the sun. Think about it. Okay, let's move on. On the 17th of November, we have the nice Leonid meteor shower. And this is, well, it can be a good shower, meteor shower, but this year it's probably not going to be that great. Let me explain why. Now, what happens is as we get to sunset on November 17th, okay? Right around sunset. Let's even say 7:30. It is a nice clear sky to begin with, and that's great for looking up for a meteor shower. You're looking for clear, dark skies, not much humidity. You can see lots of faint meteors. However, at this point, only half of the meteors are ones we will see because the radiant is in Leo, and that's where they appear to be coming from. We'll only be able to see about half of them. Once Leo gets high in the sky, which is early in the morning, we can start seeing more. However, there's another problem, and that's the moon. The moon here is waxing gibbous. It's going to be up there for a good portion of the best part of the meteor shower. However, just get out there, take a look. You should be able to see something. Stay out there at least 15 minutes, and I can almost guarantee you will see one. Okay, so November 17th and 16th and the 18th as well. Get out there and check out the Leonid meteor shower. All right, then we have 3 close encounters for the last week and a half of November. So here's what we got to do. First, we got to go to November 23rd, and let's go to the morning. So let's go right around sunrise, which is 6:58. And what we see there is a nice lineup of the moon, Mars, and Mercury. Now, one of the things we got to do here is let's go a little bit earlier in the morning so that it's a little darker out. Mercury should be visible, okay? But you have to get out, I'd say, after 6:20, maybe as early as 6:15. I would actually try to get out at 6, give myself a little bit of time. But I should easily be able to find the moon, a nice, I say nice a lot, a beautiful crescent moon up there. And that crescent moon will be above a bright Spica, which is the brightest star in Virgo. And you have a red, that's like a blue star. Then you have a red, ruddy Mars below that, and a just a little white looking dot of Mercury, which is probably going to be pretty dim compared to, actually it'll be a little brighter than Mars, but definitely dimmer than, or about the same as Spica. But anyway, it'll be there. Going on the fly here. Now what's going to happen is on the 24th, the moon will be next to Mars. And then on the 25th, it will actually be below Mercury. That's going to be really tough to find. Even on the 24th, when it's next to Mars, the moon will be very, very thin. In fact, I'm not even seeing it in this picture. Oh, there, I got to really zoom in to catch that. So anyway, 23rd to the 25th, get out after 6 a.m., see if you can find these in the morning sky. But what if you miss it? Well, luckily, the same days, or at least the 23rd and the 24th, here's what we can do. We can go to the sunset sky and look to the west. And we will find a wonderful, what some people might call a conjunction, but I like to call it close encounter. Whoop, went right past it, between Jupiter and Venus. Let me rewind the clock just a few days. You notice that throughout the month, Jupiter and Venus have been getting closer together. Okay, zoom in there. 17th, and then the 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st, 22nd, and the 23rd. The 23rd and 24th is when they are closest. In fact, they will only be about 1 degree apart. That means if you hold your pinky at arm's length, the width of your pinky is how far apart they're going to be. That's amazing. Jupiter is bright, Venus is bright. They're right on the horizon. This should get you some really cool pictures. Just make sure that any foreground objects are actually really far in the background so everything stays in focus. But get out after sunset, at least by 5 p.m., and find those two bright planets only about 1 degree apart. Venus will be the one below Jupiter and probably brighter. Also going on the 27th to the 30th, we've got some good Thanksgiving stuff going on, okay? On the 27th to the 30th, we've got a nice lineup. We've got, oh, there we go. We've got the moon, Venus, Jupiter, and Saturn. Right here you see a very, very thin moon on the 27th. And then on the 28th, which is Thanksgiving for those of us in America, we've got a wonderful, wonderful sight. So after you eat dinner, or before you eat dinner, depends on when you eat dinner. We usually end up eating at like 4 and then eating second dinner. Kind of hobbity like that. But if you take a look, you can see bright Jupiter there off in the southwest. You can also see really bright Venus. That's going to be the brighter one, of course, right next to the moon, a very thin crescent, and then you'll see Saturn up here. So just even without a telescope, this is going to be gorgeous. But if you don't have a telescope, or sorry, if you do have a telescope, you can see these worlds. You can see the bands of Jupiter and the Galilean moons. You can see Venus will be, let's see what kind of shape it's going to be. Well, it's going to be gibbous, so it won't be perfectly circular, but it'll be close to circular. And then Saturn, of course, you can see the rings. And then, of course, you know, this close encounter lasts a couple days because the moon travels to Saturn on the 29th and then kind of moves away on the 30th, leaving a nice lineup of 4 things: the moon, Saturn, Venus, and Jupiter. That was a lot for November, but here we go. Let's talk about the naked eye planets, which we've kind of already talked about.
Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn.
All right, the sunset planets are essentially Venus, Jupiter, and Saturn. And what you'll notice again as we go through the month, you'll notice that Venus kind of catches up to Jupiter, or Jupiter and Saturn catch up to Venus. Venus passes Jupiter, and then they actually, by the end of the month, are almost evenly spaced again. Now, basically for Venus, you want to get out super early because it sets pretty darn quickly. I just got my first glimpse of it last week. Okay, Jupiter sets by 8:30 at the beginning of the month, 7 at the end of the month, and Saturn by the end of the month sets at 8:30. So you really got to get out there at sunset. Wait until about 7 o'clock, and you should be able to see all of them. And then the morning planets, as we sort of talked about a little bit. If you go back to the first, and then we look toward the east around sunrise. Okay. Mars is up there. Mars is our morning planet. Now you have to get out after 6 a.m. Okay, after 6 a.m., but before sunrise. It actually rises at 5:30 by the end of the month, and it's just going to be up there, off in the east, near Spica. In fact, if we go throughout the month, you see it actually passes Spica on November 11th. So these are two bright objects, one a star, one a planet, all in the same direction. And the best time to check, again, is November 23rd, when the moon, Spica, Mars, and Mercury are all pretty much together. And you might be able to catch Mercury that last week. In fact, there you go. That very last week is probably the last chance you'll be able to see Mercury for this month.
Are there patterns in our skies? Are patterns only in our eyes?
All right, real quick, we're going to talk about some constellations. After dinner, you get out, let's say 7 p.m. You get out there, you should be able to look south and find Pegasus straight up above you. This great big square here. And it kind of shares this star Alpheratz. Technically it's Andromeda's, but and you have this Andromeda cornucopia shape going off of that. That's awesome to look at right after dinner. And in fact, right up about here is where you'll see a nice faint fuzzy called the Andromeda Galaxy. I've talked about it before, but go ahead and take your telescope out and take a look at that. This is a prime time to look at that through a telescope. But let's say you get out there before bed. So let's say you're out there at, 10 p.m. Perseus and Andromeda are going to be straight up above you, with Triangulum and Aries right down below. I like to think of Andromeda as a cornucopia shape, with Perseus, the cornucopia shape in the opposite direction, actually pouring out toward the Pleiades and Taurus. Triangulum's just a little triangle up there, and Aries, the ram, is just a little cane or comma up there. Okay? And of course, my favorite, the fall is great because in the mornings, when I get up and get out around 5 or 6 a.m., let's say 5, you can see Orion off in the southwest, and you actually start to see the spring constellation of Leo, the lion. So anyway, that is it for the month of November. Don't forget, this is out in a podcast form, mrwebb.podbean.com. It's also on Stitcher and iTunes. Just search for Observing with Webb. I also have this, obviously, on the YouTube channel here, Mr. Webb PV. I also have a Twitter feed, Mr. Webb PV, also on Instagram. And there's also the Pequea Valley Planetarium on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook as well. Just search PV Planetarium for more information like this and for events information here at the planetarium. So with that long video for November, I'd like to wish you all very clear dark skies and a happy Thanksgiving for November of 2019.